You're right, Anya. In this one, I'm going to be reviewing the Triton TPT125 thicknesser. Now, like all of my reviews, I'm going to be structuring the video first by going over its stats and specifications. I'll then talk a little bit about what we use the machine for, well, what I use the machine for and what it can be used for. I'll then actually show how to use the machine. And because I brought this machine back in 2020, I've had a good couple of years to put it through its paces. So I'll be sharing my opinions on it, what I think's good, what I think's bad, and that should hopefully help you make a more informed decision whether you want to buy it or not, and if you think it's any good. Now, it should go without saying, but I just want to make it 100% clear, this video isn't sponsored in any way. Triton doesn't even know that I'm making it. I brought this back in 2020, as I said, a couple of years ago now, and if I remember right, I spent £300 on it. So just to get that out of the way, let's crack on with the review. So let's quickly go through some of the stats and specifications for the Triton TPT125 thicknesser. It's got an 1100 watt motor and it's got a planing height from 3.2mm to 152mm, so about 6 inch thick you can go to. And the table size to this machine is 317mm by 600mm. The key figure there is that 317mm width. That is the max planing width for any boards that you're going to put through. That's about 12.5 inches. Now, a couple other of the key specs that I want to cover is its weight and its size. This weighs 28.3 kilo, which it's got some heft to it, but it's not too bad. If a little one like me can move it, I don't think you'll have any trouble. And I'm thinking, Joe, you clearly work out though. Even though I've got the body of a Greek god, it's all natural, trust me. Now, the size of it, it's 59 centimetres wide, 49 centimetres high, and about 37 centimetres deep. So it's nice and compact for a small workshop like this. Now, as I mentioned, the bed to this machine is 317mm wide. That's what gives you your max cutting width on this machine. And its folding in and out feed tables makes its total length to 600mm. At the front of the machine, there's only a couple of things of note. We've got our on and off button, and we've also got a scale on the right hand side just to help with setting the planer to the right depth that you want. And the way we adjust the height of the thickness planer is with the handle up on top. One full rotation of this handle results in 1.6mm of movement. Also on the top of the machine, you'll find this handle looking thing, but it's not a handle, it's actually a roller. And there's even stickers warning you, don't use the roller as a lifting handle. And I of course paid full attention to those stickers, and when I was unboxing it, I didn't use this to lift it out the box at all. The last thing to take note of on the top of the machine isn't just the warning label, but it's also this handy arrow pointing to where the thermal overload switch is. I've never actually had to use this, but if you're using the machine a lot in hot temperatures, it may stop on you. So give it a chance to cool down, hit that switch, and you should be good to go. Around the back of the machine, we've got the fold down out feed table. We've also got an Allen key tool along with some instructions about how to change the blades in this machine. As I said, I've had this for 2 years, but I've got no reason to change the blades. I'm still nice and sharp for me, so this has never been in use. There's also a couple of handy blade changing tools. Now, these are basically handles with magnets on the end, and you can use them to clip onto the blades to easily lift the blades in and out when you're changing them over. I'll just stick them to the side of the machine here. Also around the back of the machine, you'll find an opening where all the chips come out from the planer. Now, what you usually would have here is the dust port. Now, I haven't got mine fitted. Due to my electrics in my workshop, I never really run a large power tool and my dust extraction at the same time. I've got everything running off one extension lead. Not good, I know, but that's why. It's usually big chips coming out, so I just let them collect on the floor and I sweep them up later. But what I like about the design of this dust port is it attaches with just 2 screws. And the design allows you to switch the orientation. So depending where you've got your planer, depending where you've got your dust extraction, you can make sure that the port is in the best direction for your needs. So that was a quick look at the tech specs and an overview of the machine itself. But what do we use a thicknesser for? Well, the clue's in the name. It thicknesses material. So if you've got a board that's 20mm thick and you actually need it to be 18, you can run it through the thickness planer and it will bring it down to that 18mm thickness. Now, of course, the way it achieves its job of thicknessing material is using planer knives, so you're left with a nice smooth surface when the board exits the machine. So even if you've got a piece of wood that you're not critical about how thick it is, but you want a nice smooth finish, you can still use this. Run it through, get it to where it's smooth, forget about the measurement, and job's done. These are a really versatile tool to have in your workshop. They're one of the rare tools where you can directly see the money that you've saved. If you have a quick look online or go to your local timber merchants and price up rough sawn timber compared to plain timber, and the price difference is quite staggering. So if you can buy the timber rough sawn and then plane it at home yourself, you're saving a fortune. I actually brought this machine as an upgrade to my old thickness planer. The old one that I had, you may have seen the review for, was the Triton thickness planer. Not Triton, Titan. I know it's confusing. It's basically the cheapest one that Screwfix sells. Now the big difference between the two is the cutting capacity. This can plane a lot wider than that one could, but the other one had a jointer on the top. I used it probably a couple of times. It's useful if it's a tool that you're going to use, but you can, to some extent, achieve a similar thing with a thickness planer. I'm not going to go into it fully, but you can do something known as skip planing, where you keep flipping the board back and forth and you can strain it out. You can also make dedicated sleds where you can use wedges and blocks to level out the board, pass it through so you can be sure you've got a nice flat surface. So it is possible, a little bit more awkward. So if you're looking for any kind of combination planer jointer machine, this probably isn't the one for you. Now we've got all that lot out the way, let's actually show it in use, shall we? I'm going to start off by demoing it with a piece of pallet wood. Now I don't usually plane pallet wood. I think part of the charm is the fact that it's rough sawn, it's got dirt, it's got grime, it shows its age. So really, I'd leave it as is. But what I have put through this machine a lot is scaffold boards. I haven't got any at the minute, unfortunately. But usually you buy scaffold boards, they're all rough sawn, they've got paint on them, probably chips out of them. So it's always nice to bring them up to a smooth finish. You do need to make sure that there's no nails, no hidden staples, basically anything that could be in the wood that will damage the blades, make sure it's out, or chop it out, whatever you need to do, don't put it through. But like I say, let's try this pallet board. At the moment, it's not in the best of shape, it's really rough sawn, and let's show you how it comes up after putting it through the planer. I'm going to first put it in the machine, with the machine unplugged, turned off, and sliding it back and forth. You can tell that the infeed rollers aren't engaged. So I'm going to slowly lower the cutter head, moving it back and forth until it grabs it. Now I know I can let it off a little bit, remove the board and bring it back down that turn that I first took off. You can be precise with this. You can measure the wood, set your gauge, and then you know it's right. But for this demo, this works really quickly. I can get this plane now. So I've plugged the machine in now, get my safety glasses on, and I can get the wood planed. The operation is simple. I'm just going to offer up the wood with my hands well out the way, rest it on the infeed table, slowly feed it into the machine. The powered feed rollers will grab it and feed it through the rest of the way. A simple operation of an on-off button works the machine. So let's get it switched on and get it planed. You can see with that first pass, it's caught the centre of the board nice, but the edges are obviously slightly tapered, so it's missed those. So I'm going to add another revolution to lower the cutter head by the 1.6mm, and I'm going to put it through again. So that time it's got the full width of the board, a really nice smooth finish. Now I can flip it over and I can do the other side. So as you saw, that was a really quick process, nice and easy too. Literally put it through the machine and the machine does all the work for you. We've gone from a rough sawn board to a nice planed smooth board, and this was just a piece of pallet wood and it's come up really nicely. Now obviously, being softwood, it's some of the easiest wood that this machine's going to encounter. But what about hardwood? Well, I've used this with oak, beech and walnut, and it's handled it really well. I've got some walnut that I need to plane up anyway, so I'll use that as a demo and see what you think. So this is the rough sawn piece of walnut that I've got. I can't even remember what project this was from, but it'll serve this purpose. It's rough sawn and it's even got some paint on and some compression from where bands was before, so it should offer a really nice contrast once it's been through the planer. So now I'll run it through a few times and we'll see the difference. So as you can see, it's left a really nice smooth surface. You can see where the banding was. It's got rid of all that paint, it's got rid of some of the compression. I obviously could have removed a lot more material, but I might have a use for this down the line. So for now, that should demo it well. So I'm hoping that'll do for a bit of a demo. There's not a lot to plane as you literally put the wood through, it planes it, job done. Not a lot to really show. But I hope that you've seen it handled what I've put through really well. Pallet wood, as I've said, it's nice and easy. It's only softwood, but it didn't struggle. Went through it nice and simple, and it's left a nice smooth surface. The same, I think anyway, is true with the walnut as well. I used American black walnut. Okay, it's not the hardest of woods that you could potentially put through this, but it's a lot harder than pallet wood, and it handled it really well. I didn't hear the motor bog down at any point. I couldn't hear any signs of struggling, and it handled it, and it gave a really nice finish. So I want to talk a little bit now about what I like about the machine and what I perhaps don't like about the machine. The biggest thing for me on the plus side is its size and its portability. Now it has got some weight to it. It's not something that you're going to easily lug around with you wherever you need to go, but it is so compact that in a small workshop like mine, I can tuck it away, I can put it underneath a shelf, put it underneath a workbench, and it's not going to take up any extra room. And it's not much of a hardship to get it out if I do need to use it in a use case like this. I'll just put it on top of a little kickstand workbench and plane away. You could have dedicated stand made for it if you've got the space, but yeah, that's the big benefit for me anyway, along with its cutting capacity. Knowing that I can cut slightly over 12 inches wide on a board has been a real game changer. My old planer, it could do just slightly over 6 inches, which is brilliant, but then you're always met with a use case where you've got to put a 12-inch board through and you're stuck. It's no good to you, so this has been a godsend for that. Even just having the fold up and fold down in feed and out feed tables to the planer makes a massive difference in a small space. It's surprising just having these little stick out parts. If there was permanently in this orientation, it takes up twice as much space. So little detail like that really does go a long way if you're in a similar scenario to me. I do also want to touch a little bit on the build quality. That's something else that I really like, but I want to put it into some kind of context. You can guess by my channel name, I'm just an average Joe. I've got no mechanical engineering experience, no engineering experience whatsoever, only just what I've used with other tools. I've only used one other planer, so I haven't got a lot to go on that, but it just feels, you get that feeling, don't you, that it's well built. There's no loose parts. The mechanism for raising and lowering the planer head, it just feels smooth. I don't know what else to say. It feels well built to me, but I've not got a lot to go on, so take it with a pinch of salt. It's always nice and easy to talk about the good things when you brought a new tool, but let's talk a little bit about the things that I think aren't so good. The first one, right out the box, is the issue with snipe. Now, I haven't got much experience, as I've mentioned, with many planers, but if you've used a thickness planer in the past, you'll know about snipe. It's the little dip that you get towards the leading and trailing edge of the board. Now, there are ways around this. There's loads of YouTube videos that you can find tips and tricks to avoid snipe with your thickness planer, but I just want to give a review on this as it is without doing anything to it. My old planer, that cheap Triton, I got snipe every now and again, and it was maybe about 3/4 of an inch at maximum, and I only tended to get that if I was putting heavy boards through and I wasn't fully supporting it as it exited the machine. Now with this thickness planer, even when I'm doing my very best to make sure the boards are supported on the in and out feed of the machine, I'm still getting a lot of snipe. It's less than 1 millimetre in thickness change, but it is really noticeable, and it seems to be exactly 50 millimetres every single time. In the grand scheme of things, if you've got a rough border walnut, for example, and you're getting it planed before you're doing any final dimension cuts, 50 mil either end isn't going to make a huge difference. You just chop it off, nobody ever needs to know. But if you're milling up wood that has maybe been glued together and you need to make sure that the pieces are level, you're going to have to back it up with a scrap piece or make some kind of sled. I don't even know if the issue might be in the head itself, because of it being such a consistent size every time. I don't think it's discrepancies on the in-feed and out-feed because I'm trying to support it. So it's worth noting that there is quite a bit of snipe and it is consistent. So whether it's an issue with the machine, whether it's an issue with the in-feed and out-feed table, I'm not sure, but just keep that in mind. Apart from that snipe, there is only one other issue that I found with the machine, and that's the noise. It is a really loud planer. As I've said, I haven't used many planers myself in the past. I can only go off my old cheap Triton planer, and that was loud, don't get me wrong, but this is a lot louder. I'm guessing it's because of the size difference. I don't know how to put it into context. The camera doesn't do it justice. I'm obviously going to lower the decibel level as well when I edit it, so it doesn't blow your headphones off or your speakers, whatever you're listening to it on. I haven't got a decibel measure like meter or anything. It's a lot louder than my shop vac. It's a lot louder than my table saw. That's probably the best way I can put it into context. It's a lot louder than my router as well. So keep that in mind. I wish I could give you an easy, it falls on this scale. I haven't got the capabilities, but it is loud. So if you're going to use it for long periods of time, ear defenders if necessary, and keep in mind any neighbours around you as well, because it is a loud one. And with all that said and done, it comes down to the final question of, is it worth it? And I hope that this video has helped you make a decision to that question for yourself. The easy answer for me is that yes, it is worth it. I know that buying rough sawn wood is a lot cheaper than buying planed wood. So knowing that I can do it myself at home and save money that way, I know in the long run, this is going to pay for itself nice and easily. It opens up a lot of possibilities as well, because now I've got that larger cutting capacity. I can plane bigger boards, I can do larger projects. So there's a big benefit for me there as well. Even with the negatives, as I've spoke about with the snipe and the noise, I'm happy to let that go. It's something that I can work around because of the price point. It's not a cheap machine, don't get me wrong, but around that £300 point, I think it's a really good buy, especially if you have a look at the other options in that price range, different makes, different models, they all look very similar. And unless you're going to make a much larger investment, you're looking closer to the £600-700 mark, into the thousands, tens of thousands in some cases, it's around there that I would expect you to see a big jump in performance and a big jump in perhaps less snipe as well. I don't know, I haven't tried those, but as you can see, I'm just a DIY setup here myself, so this serves me really well. I can see it working really well if you do own your own business and you do woodworking as a living, perhaps not in a large industrial unit, but if you're just having a tat about and you're having a go and getting started, I think this is a good option. I think that's about it for this review. As I've said, my reviews are never sponsored, but what I will do, I'll leave an Amazon affiliate link to this planer in the description down below. If you want to go and check out the tech specs, see what you think, have a look through, see what other people have said in the reviews there as well. If you end up making a purchase through that link, I do get a small percentage back, which helps out the channel, just to make that clear. But have a look at the other makes and models as well. As I've said, there's loads of different price ranges. They all look very similar, to be honest with you. They're probably differing around £30 here and there, up and down. It's worth having a look. Always do your research, watch plenty of other reviews, get more opinions than just mine, obviously, and just make a more informed decision. I hope that this video has helped you to do that at least. If it has helped you and you've liked it, make sure you click subscribe and click the bell icon next to it so you don't miss a video. I do lots of different styles of videos, not just reviews. I do quick tips, how-tos, DIY, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you get subscribed if you haven't already. And make sure you click that like button as well if you liked it. If you didn't like it, click the dislike button. I know it doesn't show publicly, but it lets me know at least. And I'll catch you on the next one.